Right. Hello, everyone. What's up? This is Christian from NetGuru. So, in our today's discussion around AI, practical and strategy approach, we have a special guest who is Patrick, aka Patith. Hello, Patrick. How are you? Maybe you can tell few words about you.
Hello, Christian. Hello, everyone. So I'm Patrick. I'm from R&D department, and my responsibility is to apply new technologies for our clients and for NetGuru itself. So we not only introduce the cutting edge technologies with our clients, but we also optimize our workflows in NetGuru to make it more efficient, faster, better.
Yeah. So I guess that our, today webinar will be mostly around prototyping software and especially around artificial intelligence. But I guess that prototyping is not really something new around software development, right? So, is it something that you did also in the past, or is it something only that you see is important in the age of AI?
I mean, in R&D department, prototyping is like everyday job because we make quick prototypes to test something. Is this technology working? Does it make any sense? And even I believe every developer, engineer, programmer is doing some prototypes on their own, to their storage, desk storage or something. So yeah, prototyping is important part because it allows you to test something really quickly,
Mm-hmm.
really dirty, because you just throw some functions and everything and test, is it working? Is it worth investigating more? Is it worth investing in it? So that's a cool introduction to start with something new.
Yeah, and a project basically. So apart what you said, I'm also worked on some hardware projects before or hardware products, and their prototyping or dirty prototyping, as you said, is something totally natural because hardware development is so expensive and usually hard. Then it's totally obvious that you're starting with something total dirty. So I'm wondering, like uh, taking all of it to AI, let's say recently, do you believe that prototyping, uh, like in AI versus prototyping in natural, like regular, or let's say more traditional software development without AI, is it still important to prototype in regular software development also?
Mhm. I really like your connection with the hardware because in hardware you have these prototyping boards, this white stuff where you can put some cables in,
Yeah,
some special, I don't
like a
know, Arduino,
spider.
Raspberry
Yeah, yeah,
Pi or something, and you create some prototype. Then you design PCBs and going further until you can
yeah.
mass produce something. Yeah. So with software development, I would like to have it like all the time. We start really dirty, putting some cables, some
Mm-hmm.
Arduinos and everything, but in software, and then we scaling up, moving to MVP, and then for production for
Yeah.
millions of users. And right now, uh, many companies, many people try to use AI, and with AI, it's pretty new, but it's also old because we have machine learning for years. We have all
Mm-hmm.
of those Snapchat, Instagram filters, which are part of machine learning. We have a lot of things to process the text. If you type on your keyboard, you get on your mobile keyboard, you get like the next word prediction and
Mm-hmm.
everything. Yeah, but right now AI is more complex, and you can get much better results. So you get not only one word prediction, but you get like the whole text, the whole answer for something, and it can even figure out something else. We can generate like all the images. We can transcribe voice and make something with it. We can even We can even make some videos out of it. And you have so many possibilities that it's really hard to apply it to business sometimes, because you don't know where to start. You don't know how, for example,
Yeah.
this AI will behave. For example, if
Yeah.
you give it, I don't know, legal insurance document and you want to analyze it, you don't know what result to expect. Will it like write a song about your insurance
Yeah.
policy, or will it like really analyze it? So if you have so many cases and the new technology with new possibilities, you need sometimes to prototype something so you can see the possible results, what to expect,
Yeah.
and then you can move further with other things.
So what you're saying here is that prototyping was always important, and at the end of the day, prototyping lays at very fundamental, let's say, stage of every design process, right? Where you are even designing some offline non-digital product solution, it is good to prototype. And there are a lot of like traditional prototyping methods like Wizard of Oz or cardboards that you can implement in real life. But what you're saying here, since there is the Gen AI let's say technology right now, is giving this additional layer of complexity of totally unpredictable output, right? So it seems that kind of prototyping helps you to, so you need to start to solve the problem without sometimes seeing the actual problem, right? So you need to solve like and identify the problem through solving it. Is it something like what you said?
Yes, I mean, prototyping is to gather some knowledge, because we are missing some information, how it will behave, what it's going to do, and we need this knowledge to be able to start with some products or something. If we have something old and now, I don't know, forum, e-commerce shop or something else, probably you don't need prototype, because we have a
Yeah.
lot of knowledge in the
Yeah.
internet, in your company, to, I don't know, open some store or anything. But if you start with AI, new technology, we don't have much knowledge about it,
Yeah.
especially about applying this knowledge, this applied science, let's say. So we need to gather more theoretical knowledge to be able to start with uh, bigger projects.
So yeah, that definitely. So like in your approach, what are usual areas that you want to check through the through the hypothesis, through the prototyping process? What are kind of areas that you want to verify with your prototypes?
Mhm. Mostly there are two areas, like technical and business. So we have some technical requirements that we want to meet and some business requirements that we want to meet. And when we start with technical, so we want to check, for example, is it going even to work? How much will it cost running all the servers, processing all the requests? How much data we can fit into it? As we know, for example, AI has some limits to context, so we cannot fit like hundreds of pages of some documents. We need to somehow shrink it, so we need some technical solution to do it, and so on. So we have a lot of like technical functional requirements, but from business side there will be also non-functional elements to it. So we will have some requirements, some
Some business, yeah, some business requirements, right?
yeah, something that will limit our possibilities on technical side, because we will have to parse, for example, these hundreds of documents. So we need to find something on technical side to solve it. We want to have a lot of people using it, and we need to have load balancing all the servers and everything. So we need to have like those two areas. But on business side, we also have users. So you need to check, are users going to use this system
Yeah.
according to your thoughts, and how they will use it. For example, is chat a good interface? Maybe voice interface is better. Maybe we want to prepare some videos. I don't know. So you need to make some user research also on this side.
Yeah.
And when you create such prototype, you can quickly check technical requirements, you can quickly check business requirements, maybe make some alpha testing, beta testing,
Yeah.
so you will have much more knowledge how to approach it.
Yeah, totally. So what you're saying here is that although you can build, so the first layer is to verify some technical assumptions, some technical hypothesis. The second layer is verifying some business requirements through the prototype. This is something dirty. I guess this is something that you can deliver very fast to test the solution. And of course, you can invest less money than unusual product development. But what you're saying, which is really interesting, is that you can also utilize prototype to start some very initial user testing to get their feedback, which is really cool. So maybe, like, from your perspective, let's say that you have some problem to be solved. What is like your regular approach to prototyping phase? How you usually do it? And I know, because we work directly a lot, and you can like really deliver fast prototypes, and also like you did a lot of the prototypes, and the entire R&D team is really experienced in delivering those prototypes. So I was wondering, what's your approach to that? How usually you're approaching the process?
Mm-hmm. Okay, usually we start with some technical stuff. And this is the place where many people can disagree to start with something technical, because we have a lot of things on business side to figure out. For example,
Yeah.
will users use it? We can make some mocked prototypes, on Figma or something, show to the users and ask for their opinions. But we start mostly with technical, because when you start with a new technology, you don't even know, is this technology going to work?
Yeah.
You don't know, is it going to run, how much resources you needed, because on some level maybe it's not economical, let's say, to use
Yeah.
it, because it will spend too much money even on
Yeah.
servers, even if business idea is great. So
Yeah.
it might be not be a time for it.
So this is like extreme what you're saying, because from also like from the traditional design school, you should rather approach with checking the business needs and user problems first of all. And I'm totally like with you here, and this is something which is really extreme from the design process principles, but in my humble opinion makes a lot of sense, where in fact you need to kind of hack it and start from the technical verification, because at the end of the day, what you're saying here, you are not even sure if you will be able to build what you want to build, right? So to start with the technical verification, or maybe what you want to build will be, so as you mentioned about this server time or additional cost, will be so expensive that it doesn't really make sense. So what you're saying is your approach is to start the technical verification as soon as possible, right? So this is step one.
Small asterisks for new
Yeah.
technologies.
Yeah, of
I would
course.
start with technical things.
Yeah.
For most of the projects, to be honest, I will start with some business and user research and so on.
Yeah. That's I was muted for a sec. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
what I was saying is that definitely I'm like plus one what you said on checking the business and user problems, human problems first. But when we will take it into the realm of Gen AI, so many technologies are still in the experimental phase, right? So we need to verify this technical layer. Okay, so you said that let's say, assuming that there is some experimental technology, and then and as a first step, you advise to start with the technical verification to even check if this technology is ready to be anyhow commercially used, right? So, like, what's your process there? Do you organize some kind of workshops, working together with engineers, like trying? You mentioned you want to try some dirty prototypes as soon as possible. So I was wondering, how to structurize this process.
Mhm. Most of our processes focuses on like a month of research and prototyping, because we spent like the first week researching what technology we need. Sometimes we need some workshop with a client to gather some more requirements, answer some questions, because for example, if we process some documents, we need to know more about these documents, where we need to focus, and what is the expected outcome of it. Because what is interesting at this stage is the input, so what we get from the user, from someone who will be using the software, and what is the expected output, so what they want to achieve there. And
Yeah.
then we try to gather these requirements, find the technologies that we can use. Might be AI, it might be not. There might be some different things, different technologies that we can use. So we have like 1 week of the research. We gather requirements, we gather knowledge, we know what we want to do. Then we can show it to the client, our approach, and then we can start like 2-3 weeks of quick prototyping to have something clickable, to see how the input and outcome looks like in like,
Yeah.
I don't want to say production environment, but in testing environment, so you can make some initial tests in your company with some users maybe, and you can see the results there.
Yeah. So this is really clever on what you said. And also the way how I read this is that in regular or traditional, let's say, software development, you usually know how the input will look like, you know what will be the data, and you know how the output will look like. So even like you mentioned about this e-commerce shop, right? When you are a software agency and delivering e-commerce shop, at the end of the day, user will be aware how it may look like, right? Which is not so certain in terms of AI, right? So this is also a perfect way to get the feedback as soon as possible from people, right? Is it something that they will use? And on the other hand, which is extremely important on what you said on data side, like, is this data really ready to be used, or how should I prepare it? How should I modify it? And what I see from my perspective in more and more projects when we are doing prototyping process is that this data layer is very important, and something that might be kind of really not taken into account during the prototyping phase, but I believe it's like very important to prepare the data. All right, so you mentioned about like the process. I guess that every prototype is some kind of hypothesis, right? So this is
Yes.
also something that we could do during the workshop, and we can assume like what is the result of the prototyping phase and what is the expected outcome, right? And this is the research. And you mentioned that usually you would like to organize this process in around 1 month to deliver some outcomes. So from your perspective, taking it from there, like, what is usually like a deliverable of your prototype? What is the actual thing that you are delivering in the prototyping process?
Okay, so we try to give some application that have some input box, so you have provide some input. I don't know, maybe write it, maybe put some XML, CSV file, text file, PDF, anything. Then you have some button or some boxes to adjust the output, and then you have like output box, so you can see the outcome of it. Because as you mentioned, we make a hypothesis that from given input we get some outcome, And
Mm-hmm.
to verify it, we prepare small prototype to gather this input data and show somehow output data. And
Mm-hmm.
it can be like different on many levels, because as an input, it doesn't have to be text, and output also doesn't have to be text. It can be an audio, it can be some images. We can
Mm-hmm.
even try to create, I don't know, whole HTML pages. So, you get some web pages, I don't know, landing pages for each of your client. You can get some ready to use documents in specific format. You can get, I don't know, uh, audio files to talk about your YouTube video, or about your product. We have a lot of like possibilities
Mm-hmm.
here.
So, okay, so also considering that the another layer of complexity is the different output styles or different output forms, then again, prototyping is very important here. Um, from my perspective, what I could add into that is that from the product perspective, also having a prototype, because usually, you're starting a new project, and as a net guru, as a software agency, people are, saying, okay, I don't want to deliver like a full project because this is like very expensive. It will cost me a lot of money, but I want to get a buy-in from the stakeholders, maybe some CEO that is like, just want to check how it will looks like, or how it will work. So to what you said, my additional value there would be that clickable, as you mentioned, even like operational prototype, which will be probably some happy path, output solution, will give us this ability to pitch this solution internally, right, in our organization. Let's say, show it to some people, like, hey, this is how it works. It's potentially doable. So, like, let's invest, right? But the thing is that very important part of this prototype is the risk management, actually, because you are managing the hypothesis whether this solution is able to be built. So yeah,
Mhm.
totally makes sense. Would lead us like to kind of the further discussion on, and we had this maybe we had this talk a couple of times so far, in terms of like what would be future directions of prototyping that seems interesting for you. What do you think? Like, because there is a lot of like discussion about, low code, no code, or maybe not using it, or maybe utilize Gen AI in prototyping itself, even, right? We have these Figma tools, and even Bubble.io announced that you will be able to build native application based on that, right? So I was
Mhm.
wondering, and I know that you come from traditional software development or software engineering, I would even say. So I was wondering, what are, for you as a R&D guy, what are like interesting directions in terms of prototyping for you? What are the areas that you think will be something cool?
Mhm. Okay, so there is a lot of things going on right now around, like, new tools for development, new tools to speed up the processes. And we have these no code, low code solutions that are cool. And let's say
Mm-hmm.
they are traditional because you need to, move something, drag something, program it something, and so on. We have a little bit newer movement, for example, converting Figma files directly into code. So you have
Mm-hmm.
kind of no code, because you just give design file and you get the code, but then some developer needs to like process it to make it, I don't know, better, add some business logic and so on. So we have like different stage of it. But we also have like the copilot for developers, so something that finishes the lines,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, makes you code faster. And then we have even newer technology, something like GPT Engineer
Mm-hmm.
or similar projects that take like chat GPT and try to make autonomous developers. So we have a lot of options, and for prototyping, I would like to have, like, in the future, some autonomous process.
Mm-hmm.
So we could, like, ask something like GPT, can you create me a prototype that will take some input, give me such output, and how I can make it. So that will be like a perfect world, because we'll have really fast prototyping, because it's just a matter of prompts. But right now we don't have it, because those tools are not working like that. But
Mm-hmm.
if we have, like, prepared engineers that can, like, create things using AI. That's what we're trying to do in NetGuru, like, help our developers to speed up their processes. Our developers can use, like, Copilot to quicker finish the lines, write some boilerplate code, and it's getting faster. They can use, like, GPT engineer to create some files, boilerplates, improve some code, document things, and so on. And we even try to move further, try to convert these Figma files to code automatically, because it
Mm-hmm.
speeds up the process. And if it speeds up the process of classical software development, it will also speed up the prototyping. So we try to make it faster and faster. And
Yeah.
prototype is something minimal, so you can test, so you don't need anything fancy there. It's just
Mm-hmm.
to make sure it's working like you expect.
Yeah. Okay. Totally makes sense. Thanks for that. Just mentioned, like, if already some of you have any questions, please feel free to write it on our chat. We will be able to still answer that. But to kind of wrap it up on what you said is that, um, if there are, in terms of new tools, if there are some, mm, let's say, modern or very, like, innovative tools for the software development, it will be even more useful for prototyping, right? So I guess that this is where we could utilize those technologies, like GPT engineer. But on the other hand, we have also low code or no code, which is, in my opinion, a very handy, very useful tool for product validation. So even maybe not building the MVP on that, but at least building the prototypes, or a dirty prototype, right? As you call it before. So maybe to wrap it up, like, for our audience, let me summarize some points you mentioned that are very interesting in my opinion. So first of all, you will always want to prototype in software development, and this is even more important in the era of Gen AI, because Gen AI is still experimental technology, right? One of the biggest benefit of prototyping is that you can deliver some uh, clickable solution, test it with your users, test your data, and you can do it in reasonable amount of money, because usually this process is quick. This is around 1 month of development, which will be less than, like, 6 months of development, like, of multiple engineers, right? The other benefit is that in the meantime, having this solution, you can start to get the buy-in in your organization to continue the project. And as you mentioned, every phase is good for prototyping. Even you can use the prototype to test with your users, but with very experimental technology, you would advise to start with the technical verification first, because it will, first of all, help you to understand whether the technology is ready to be commercially used. So this is very, very interesting. Let me check if there are any questions. It seems that there are no additional questions. So yeah, maybe last question I got to you is, because this is something that we didn't discuss, around, like, what are the key competences, and what is the usual team uh, for this prototyping process, what you would advise,
Mhm.
and what is maybe also the mindset of the people that will work on this prototype.
Yeah, so At first, we don't write tests. I would say
Mm-hmm.
like classical thing. We don't write tests because we want something quick, dirty. We don't need to check any use cases or something. We just write some code, make sure it's working in a happy path. We don't check any edge cases or anything because we need to like check. We need to verify only the positive path. So
Mm-hmm.
is it processing properly? And we need to gather some knowledge. What are the challenges around it? So how much is it going to cost? What are the problems with some libraries? Is there any technology missing that we need to write on our own? So we need to gather some knowledge. Then we can also move it to the user phase. And with users, we can test some other hypotheses. Is it working with users? Are they happy? Uh, is it okay for them to use it? And so we have like this process of gathering knowledge
Mm-hmm.
through prototyping. So we start minimal, we move on, and with the competences, we need to have people that can work in, really dynamic uh, environment because we have really small time window. If you
Mm-hmm.
work like 8 hours a day and you have 20 days to deliver something, each hour is like really
Yeah.
meaningful percent of the project. So we need to have like people working uh, really fast, that they don't they are not afraid to drop something. If you
Mm-hmm.
spend 1 or 2 hours researching something and you are not seeing any results, you can drop it
Yeah.
because you can end up like digging into it through days, I would say, but you have like only minutes and hours to work on something. So we need people that can work fast, are not afraid to drop something, waste some time to achieve even better result, that can like use AI tools because they speed up the process. So, using the Copilot, GPT Engineer, uh,
Mm-hmm.
for example, Locofy to convert Figma files to something, and
Yeah.
wrapping up it together. Also, we need like people not sticking to one language because you
Mm-hmm.
never know which language is the best for prototyping something. Sometimes it's JavaScript because we focus more on the front end, so it's easier to make front-end application using some, I don't know, React, uh, some JavaScript. Sometimes it's backend, and AI
Mm-hmm.
and backend processing some data, Python might be the best. Sometimes you need some traditional backend, so you need different language for it. And we don't stick to one language. We are using multiple languages. So it's not the matter of fluency of one language, but it's a matter of quickly switching to different
Yeah. Yeah.
languages. So you need someone like Ninja, I would say, in the world of software development.
Yeah, this is very good analogy. All right. So it also like what I think it seems that, and this is what I see with working with you and with R&D team, is that there is some kind of specific mindset that you're rather focus on the outcome and the let's say effectiveness of the solution or efficiency of the solution rather than building it like just like that because you want to deliver and test the hypothesis as soon as possible, which yes at the end of the day may lead to conclusion that there is some kind of hacker or ninja mindset needed for developing those prototypes, right? Where in purpose you are not really focused on the UI part, but rather focusing only on the solution. All
Mhm.
right. Thank you very much, Patrick. Yes.
Like, I just wanted to add it because in R&D we have something. We say that every experiment is successful. It doesn't matter is it positive outcome or negative outcome because we gather knowledge. Should we invest or should we waste money on something? And this knowledge allows us to move further. So we
Yeah.
say like every
Yeah.
experiment is like
Yeah,
successful for us.
totally. And considering that I believe even like in old school project management books, they are saying that 70% of projects are basically failed. So minimizing the risk, as you mentioned, in the very early stage, and even making this failure in the first step and investing really less money that in the full scale project is a wise decision, right? And strategies at the end of the day saying no. So yeah, I believe that prototyping will have a very big impact there. All right, thank you very much, Patrick.
Thank you.
Very interesting. Thanks a lot. So, just for the people listening us right now, we would like to invite you on the next podcast around AI and trends, how to practically craft trends into your AI strategy, where to get those information, how to use it practically, also in the workshop way. So, we will have this webinar at in 8th May. So feel free invited. And yeah, thank you very much. Thanks again, Patrick. See you
Thank
later.
you. See you.